Shows that make you laugh. Shows that make you think. Music that moves you. It could only be one place. Universal Broadcasting Network. Tune in at ubnradio.com. 3, 2, 1.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Fed Up Show with Lonnie Ramati. I'm here to tell you about a new movement I'm starting. I want everyone to call in and tell me how fed up they are and what they're fed up with. Because I am fed up. I'm fed up! You know, when I was a kid, my mother always used to tell me the same thing every time I opened my big trap. And I was a kid who liked to open his big trap. I still like to open my big trap. That's why I'm talking to all of you. And that's why I'm fed up, because I like to open my big trap and everyone's trying to shut me up. But Donald Trump, pretend I'm your mother, okay? And you're baby Trump. And your mother is telling you, shush, Donnie. You don't know what's going on in New York. You don't know who did that bomb. You don't know what caused that bomb to go off. You don't know who left that bomb in that location in Chelsea. And you don't know what is going on. The police don't even really know yet. So silence is golden, Donald. I'm your mother. Silence is golden. And Mama says silence is golden, so shut up and be rich. All right? I love you, but shut up and be rich, sonny boy. This is your mother talking, so you better listen. By the way, whoever else is advising you on that campaign, they're idiots if they're letting you talk like this. Again, you got to stop hiring idiots because they're not telling you to be quiet. All right. You know, this weekend, I keep seeing the same movie over and over again on cable, and I've seen it before. It's called The Martian. And I saw it again this weekend, and the more I see it, the more I think the movie has 100% relevance to you and me. And you and me are the people that no one's listening to. We're out there, we're middle class, we're poor people, or we're unemployed people. We're millennials, we can't find jobs. You know, we're Generation X. We have too much experience to get hired, but we can't find jobs. Nobody's listening to us. And the people that listen to us, they don't get elected. So we're just out there alone, and we're angry. And that's why we have such a sharp divide in this country between rich and poor, because rich people are getting listened to and controlling things, and the middle class and poor are getting left out of the deal, which wasn't the case in the 70s or the 80s, but it is the case now. So this movie, it stars Matt Damon, who's just an amazing actor who's never won an Oscar for acting. Has he even been nominated? Okay, he's been nominated, but he's like George Clooney. He doesn't get enough Oscar votes for acting for some mysterious reason. He won as a writer a long time ago for Good Will Hunting, but he absolutely doesn't get any respect. And then the film is directed by Ridley Scott, a great director who doesn't have an Oscar, which is a complete joke. And then it didn't win for Best Picture, even though it should have won, because everyone loved this movie, and it's a great movie. They liked it critically. They liked it personally. So I know, in a sense, you and I are not like any of these people because they're at a minimum rich and famous. All right. But they're not getting what they deserve. They're great and not getting what they deserve. And isn't that you and me? Even if we're mediocre and we're not great, aren't we not getting what we deserve? Aren't we being taken for granted and not getting raises and new jobs? Aren't our businesses that we start off that are great ideas not being helped by anybody? Don't we have to fight every day? 100%. We're not getting what we deserve. So if you're looking for a job and you're a millennial, and you're not getting hired because you can't find jobs that match up to your education or skills, and back to education again, rich, expensive college or university, and we're unemployed. And if we don't have enough experience as millennials to qualify for jobs because we're just starting out, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing living at home with our parents, and we're not getting what we deserve because we went to college, we did what we should have done, we had decent grades in college, and now there are no jobs. For those who are older and have a track record, we're not getting job opportunities, even though we've worked hard all our lives and have been loyal, because people want cheap labor. They want young people with some experience so they can pay them less. And we're embarrassed because we're too old and not cheap enough to have, and we have too much knowledge, which threatens the very people who hire us. So there you have it. And if you're unemployed for more than 6 months, everyone wrongly suspects you're not hireable. So that's ridiculous, because if you worked for 10 years somewhere, and then you're not getting a job after 6 months or more, what does that mean about the 10 years? That was a giant 10-year fraud for you working, and now all of a sudden you're worthless? It's ridiculous, that sort of thinking. People that have been in a job for a long time should be at the top of the hire list because they're loyal, they work hard, and there must be a reason they were there for a long time. They must have had some value to that company. And even if we keep our jobs, if we're lucky enough to keep our jobs, middle class and poor, we're not getting raises. We're not getting raises. So, it's true that some businesses can't afford to give raises, okay? But you and I know what's going on Wall Street. You and I know about the waste that they're on these big boats, these big trips, these big houses, China, these big furnishings, big, rich. Volume. I got, a 3-foot midget in the circus has a house the size of Mount Everest. What is that for? Can't we just tone down the house a little bit, shorter people, and can't we just have a house that's less big and use that money to have jobs for the poor and middle class and get raises for us? So basically where we are is we're alone. And in the Martian, Matt Damon is alone in the beginning. He's abandoned, not purposefully, but he is alone, and at first he can't contact anyone. And that for us is where we're at. And that's why we have to fight this, like he fights it in The Martian. We're alone. We're alone. Nobody's listening to us. Every single day we are complaining about no jobs, or we're complaining about no raises, or we're complaining that we can't afford to send our kids to college, we can't afford to make a living, we can't survive. Every day we're telling our representatives this. Every day we're telling each other this, and we're voting like this is the situation, and nothing's being done. And we're alone. Yeah, you have friends, you have family. They can't do anything. We're in our own little problem. They can't do anything. The rich have taken away all our money, and we're very alone in this. We have no politicians. They won't help. We have police. They won't help. We have unemployment and payments that are at poverty level and end at 6 months. No help there. We want to have our kids get a college education. Nobody cares. The college education costs keep going up. Nobody does anything about it. All that money being wasted on colleges that could be used to create jobs, gone, wasted, and then they get an education, no jobs, living at home, no raise, no fees. Welfare is not help because most of us want to work for a living and earn our money. We don't want to be on welfare. Rents are the same or going up as they were when we're employed or making a living without any raise for the past 10 years. We can't afford to buy a house because of unemployment. So we're like Matt Damon in The Martian. We're alone. So here's what we need to do. I love this movie because it shows us a lesson in life. Do what Matt does in The Martian. And this is what I'm telling everyone to do. First and foremost, every day that you wake up, you have to stay positive. He knew that being left behind on Mars was not his fault. You have to know when you're unemployed, okay? When you have nothing going on in your life, it's not your fault. Even if somebody says it was your fault, they're full of it. They have to justify why you're no longer being paid most of the time. Sometimes it is your fault. And then you have to do a soul search and figure out how not to do that again. But most of the time, it's not your fault. So you need to stay positive like he does. He gets up every day, and if you see this movie, and I recommend you all see it, every single day he's positive and trying to figure out a better way for him to survive. So that's the first thing we have to do. You have to use our brains and figure out a way to survive until we find a job. Look, The movie's mostly about Matt Damon surviving on Mars. Our movie is about using our brains on Earth and surviving. Even though we're poor, middle class, or unemployed, we have to figure out a way. We need to keep trying to get work or get better jobs. We need to take jobs we don't like to survive. And we need a sense of humor, like Matt Damon does. A sense of humor. We need to talk to each other, and we need to elect people who will help us survive when we're unemployed. And we need people who are in Congress who will give us a shot at survival when we are employed. Those are the people we need to elect. We need to help each other find jobs. We need to communicate on Google, communicate on Facebook, communicate on Yahoo, Snapchat. We need to help each other. We need to fight this. Fight it. That's why I'm on radio, so people can get together, listen to this, and start communicating locally. I don't want to rely on Monster.com for a job. I want to rely on people for a job because people help people get jobs. And that's why I'm here. And most importantly, we need to stay proud of what we did and who we are, because right now, no one gives a damn about us. And they're wrong, okay? Because when we had a job, all of a sudden we were smart and good and a great worker and we loved having you at this company. All of a sudden, now that we don't have a job, everything's changed. That's a totally ridiculous idea. So fight. Stay positive. Fight every day, like Matt Damon did in The Martian. I know it's just a movie, but there's a lesson there. Fight without shame, without giving up, without laziness. And maybe one day we'll catch a break like he did. Maybe we'll get a job and a salary that we can live off of. Maybe we'll even get a raise. Maybe we'll have a community that helps people get jobs and a salary. Maybe we'll help each other instead of waiting for these idiot politicians to wake up. And maybe, just maybe, we'll start electing people that give a damn about us. And when we do that, by the way, when we start helping each other get jobs, when we start fighting against this crap that we're dealt, then we'll be coming home, just like Matt Timon did in The Martian. We'll be home, and people will start listening to us. You know what I think we should do? How about giving any person who finds you or me a job and that job allows us to pay our bills and survive, and maybe even helps us get our kids to college? How about letting that person have a 50% tax credit? How about they pay 1/2 of the damn taxes that they pay now if they help? That would help a lot of rich people help get us jobs, because most of the time, rich people are just concerned about making money. They're really not concerned about making jobs. So let's make it worth their while to give us jobs. Let's give people who can create jobs, real jobs with real companies, let's give them some tax breaks, real tax breaks. And let's have small businesses being invested in rather than big corporations, because small businesses is what help our economy grow. Let's give them a tax credit if they do that. Okay, next thing is there are these people on radio and politicians, and I'm not going to say Democrats or Republicans because it's just politicians. They're all grouped in the same horrible species. They're saying that if you give minimum wage, higher minimum wages for workers, more rights for workers, 401ks for workers, required parental leave and required medical leave, if you do that, there's a whole bunch of people who tell us that's a bad thing. I'm going to get to that in a moment, but first I'm going to take a call.
Hello, you're live on air with Lonnie Ramati. What do you have on your mind, and what are you fed up about?
I was wondering what's the vision of Lonnie about in the Middle East.
The Middle East? What do I think? I need more specifics. What do I think about the Middle East?
Do you think the peace is only elusive, or there's a chance?
Here's what I think. I think that other than defense of our country and defense of our nation, I think we should stop worrying about the Middle East. Okay? I think we should get off of oil so we don't have to defend Saudi Arabia, where its citizens, whether they were former citizens or current citizens, came in and bombed the crap out of us. I think we should stop supporting people in Syria like ISIS by giving a country money so it can indirectly support ISIS. Here's an example. ISIS is taking over oil fields. Who helped create those oil fields? Who built those oil fields for the Middle East? We did. What are we doing? What do we need to build oil fields for the Middle East for? Why do we need oil? Get off of oil. Then the Middle East becomes irrelevant and we don't have these problems that we have now. Get away from the big sin that we have, oil. Start finding other cheaper alternatives for energy, which we have, by the way. Develop those, invest in those, and we have enough oil reserves to take care of ourselves. Get off of the heroin addiction to oil. Then the Middle East doesn't become a threat to us because we don't care about them, because we don't care about oil. And let them solve their own problems. No offense, but right now we have enough problems that we need to solve. We can deal with the Middle East if it threatens our welfare. If we need to defend ourselves physically, we'll deal with the Middle East. But if no one's attacking us in the Middle East, no one's threatening our livelihood, no one's threatening Americans, and no one's creating jobs for Americans here, if they're not doing anything for us, stay away. To me, it's like North Korea. Why are we worried about North Korea? Leave them alone. Let them do whatever we want. We're not in the business of antagonizing people with nuclear weapons that they're developing. We're not in the business of antagonizing people. We're in the business of helping Americans. Let's get us back on our feet first, and then we'll deal with these other problems. The only exception to that rule is the physical well-being and threat, military threat to the United States. That we have a duty to defend, and that we have a duty to protect. But barring that, I think we should stay out of it. Stay the heck out of it. It's never done us any good. It didn't do us any good in Afghanistan. It didn't do us any good in Iraq. It didn't do us any good in Vietnam. Over and over again, it didn't do us any good in South America. It didn't do us any good in Guatemala. It didn't do us any good in El Salvador. Over and over again, we're fighting nothing, okay? And what happens is the more you fight these things, the more elevated it becomes, so it does become a threat to us. Because if you stay away and just focus on making this country great and making the citizens here great, you avoid those problems, okay? We can't be rescuing the world before we rescue ourselves, okay? That's
Donnie,
what
I agree with you.
You know?
I think we should stop being the police of the world.
Stop being the police.
You said that. Would you think some people would consider you as a separatist, let's say, just before the Second World War?
I'm not a separatist. I think we have to deal with the world. But I consider the world like this. Let's say we're in a school, right? And we're in grade 7, and there's some other grade 7s. Well, my grade 7, I want my grade 7 first to be in good shape before we worry about the other grade 7s. And whatever's happening in the other grade 7s, as long as it's not injuring my grade 7, they can be fine. I'm not a separatist in the sense that I want to do business with other countries. I want to do whatever I can do with other countries that helps our country and our citizens. So I'm not a separatist. But what I believe in is not involving ourselves in politics that doesn't bring us any benefits. I don't believe in trying to force people to adapt our form of society and our democracy. I believe that we have to let people make choices and hope they make the right choices. Like a parent with children, you do your best with children. You tell them what's right and what's wrong. You hope they make the right decisions, but you aren't your children. You do the best you can. So I believe in welcoming the world into our lives. I believe in being positive with other countries, but I don't believe in interfering with other countries unless they pose a threat to citizens of the United States.
I agree with you 100%. But don't you see the pattern here repeated? No matter if it's Republicans or Democrats, it's always the same story. The policy of being so much involved around the world is continuing regardless who's ruling.
Well, and by the way, both parties are doing this. Who got us into Iraq? Who got a Republican? Who got who got us? You can go back to a Democrat getting us into Vietnam, which was Lyndon Baines Johnson at a very high level. You can go back to a Republican get us into the Iraq War. That was a waste. Both parties got us into Afghanistan. That was a waste. So that's right. As I mean, I'm dealing with Americans surviving right now, but part of our survival depends on our ability not to so antagonize other people that we spend billions and billions of dollars on wars that bring us no benefits that we could have spent on you and me working here. You and me having a job, so I don't have to worry. I don't have to walk around and be lost in America because I don't have a job. Or I don't have to worry that I'm a middle-class person or a poor person and nobody's paying me enough so I could send my brother's children, help send my brother's children to college, or families can send their own kids to college. That is ridiculous, okay? That's what I'm furious about. And I don't want to get lost in foreign diplomacy and all of that crap. I want to get focused on things now. I don't want you walking the streets and no one cares for you in this country, that you don't have a job. That's what I don't want. The other stuff is second to that. Until we're working, until somebody's fighting for us, until somebody's cleaning up our cities so there's no crime, until they're giving criminals who become criminals because they can't find a job or because they're fed up with being treated like crap, if we can get rid of that mentality and just help people here, we'll be better off. We have all these amazing Americans. What about Bill Gates? What are you doing, Bill? Why are you going overseas? Why are you doing all this stuff that's outside America? How about opening some more companies here? How about investing in small businesses that create jobs? How about looking for people that are really qualified, like really look for them and helping them get jobs in their areas of expertise? We all have areas of, how about helping us, Bill, okay? Stop thinking that you should go to some country and help them. We have enough problems of our own. After you've solved our problems, then we'll go to those countries. Right now, you have a duty because we are the ones who made your career. We made your career. We are your consumers. We bought your material. We helped make Microsoft a great corporation. Give back to us. Warren Buffett, give back to us. Give to us. I don't care what your politics. Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but the question is, how can you turn around this pattern of rich people?
Let me tell you how.
Not being real philanthropists.
Let me tell you how. Vote for people that hate rich people. Vote for people that hate. It's all we have, you and I. Vote. And get chat rooms, get communities, protest. Start walking around and embarrassing them. Public embarrassment works. I've seen it over and over again through the years. Embarrass them and fight. Get a community of people. Get a chat room. Get people going so they start voting for even local politicians that hate it. If you build up enough people that hate rich people, you'll be just fine, my friend. And they'll fight for all of this. I have to go now. Thanks very much for the call.
Thank you so much.
All right. So let's talk about higher, I mentioned before the call, higher minimum wage, more rights for workers, 401k, parental leave, and medical. Everyone says, oh, no, you can't do this. It's going to lose jobs. The more you give to people, the less jobs you're going to have, the more rights workers get. Look, I'm not a communist, okay? I'm a fighter. There's a difference. I don't believe in communism. It's idiotic. It's ludicrous. It's a 19th century fabrication that does not apply to the modern world. It's never been successful in any country that's been communist ever. They all end up being capitalists because capitalism is the way of the world. That's the way things should be. I agree with that. So let's get off of communism. Just because you're fighting for middle class and poor people who don't make enough money does not make you a communist. So stop with that total BS about somebody that believes in poor people and middle class making them communists. We are poor people and middle class, okay? I'm talking to you, Montana. We're poor people in middle class. I'm talking to you, North and South Dakota. I'm talking to you, red states. We're the people getting screwed over. So stop worrying about communism if somebody cares about you having a job. That's a neighbor. That's not communism. And here's what I'm going to tell you. These things, they aren't going to make for less jobs. In 1900, okay, there were no labor laws. None. There were no unions. No workers' rights. No medical, no minimum wage, no rights for child labor victims, no rights for women, nothing. And there were less jobs in 1900 than there are today. How did that happen? How do we get all these jobs? How was the stock market at $18,000 when it didn't break 1,000 up to the 60s? How is that happening if this is all so bad? The less jobs argument is total BS. And don't tell me that small businesses won't be able to afford this. If you lower taxes on small businesses, only small businesses, not rich people on Wall Street, not big corporations, but only small businesses. If you lower taxes on small businesses that make less than $250,000 a year, they'll be able to afford it. Okay? And the rich corporations can already afford it. I have a call. I'm going to take a call.
You're live with Fed Up with Lonnie Ramati. What are you fed up with?
Hey, Lonnie, I'm fed up with people that can't merge onto the freeway. I call it merging disease. And instead of getting on the freeway accelerating and people on the freeway either moving over or slowing down, the people like hit the brakes or they just don't step on the gas, and you're just like, come on, you're trying to let them in and they just won't. They stop or I call it merging disease with that. I'm also fed up with the fact that independent filmmakers, who have won multiple awards in film festivals, Audience Choice and Best of Fest, don't have some kind of like 1-800 hotline they can call for distribution for television or, somebody just out there who's got the connections that can help these people out, and help them get their film seen by the world. Obviously they've proven themselves. They've won awards. They're not just some run-of-the-mill film that, they threw together or whatever that hasn't already been recognized. And these films are out there, and they should be shared.
Thank you very much for your call. I'm going to respond to that on the air. First of all, number one, let's talk about our freeway system, okay? Again, who's messing us with our freeway system? Politicians again. So the only way to get some people to change things is by letting them know about it. You got to get a group of networks. Like if you're somebody that has a lot of followers online, you got to start getting those followers to write to whoever's in charge of traffic in your area to get them to change it. Because let me tell you, Los Angeles traffic, it's as bad as New York traffic. It's a disaster. People spend hours on the freeway. Nobody merges. Nobody cares. You have to make them do the right thing sometimes.
It's everywhere. Yeah, it's the whole country.
It's the whole country. So
yeah.
the only way to do it is to get the people that make the laws and create those freeways, which are mostly politicians, local politicians, do something. It's protest. You can start an online group for that. You can talk to your friends about it. Get people, do a blog about it and have people respond to the blog and get them going. And also make it public. Get on a radio show like this and every other radio show you can get on until your voice is eventually listened to. Now,
step on the gas.
And let's talk about the indie film business. And I want to say goodbye to you, but I'm going to have a long speech about that. All right. Let's talk about what happens in the modern world. We have something called an internet. Okay, distributors. You should be able to basically make money off of most things, especially if they win awards. But you're not doing your due diligence just as a business person if you're not finding product on the internet that already has awards that you can market and sell. Now, I understand the business of film. I've been in it for a long time. I know what it's about. And you're never going to convince me that there aren't enough current venues now to make some money off of a film rather than just letting it sit there and never be released or distributed. It has to be one of the worst products on earth for that, because if you look at the films that are making money and that are being distributed, most of them aren't very good. They're pretty bad, actually. So if those films can make money, if something's won an award and you see it's won an award, that means it has probably more quality than most of the product you're already releasing. It's your job to develop direct-to-consumer sales. And it's your job to pick up those films and start listening to people that are making quality films instead of just being lazy and sitting on your asses and not following up on things. Now, I want to get back to my other topic. You can complain about anything here. It doesn't matter what I'm talking about. But this thing about, jobs being destroyed because people are getting medical leave, parental leave, and a minimum wage, better minimum wage. It's just baloney, because look at all these announcements we see in the press over the last 10, 15, 20 years, maybe even 30 years, about all the luxury items being bought by Wall Street rich people. all the luxury items being bought by people that work in big corporations, boards of directors getting trips to places, people that are executives in big corporations or even smaller corporations getting so much money in perks. All these luxury items, all of that money, that could be used to put into small businesses so that they can afford to do these things. And by the way, you know, we're never going to get the money back that these people waste that are rich. So, you know, stick it where the sun don't shine, rich people. We know what you're doing. You're just wasting money on things you don't need. What we need to do is redirect their money and make it so that they have to invest in small businesses. You know how to do that? Make them pay us. Make them pay us when we work for them. Make them give us 401ks that match. Make them give us a minimum wage that we can live off of. Make them give us medical leave. Make them give us things we need to survive. And stop worrying about it being communism, because any rich people is always going to complain about somebody getting more money. They don't want anyone to get money except themselves. They're always going to say you're a communist if you want more money and you're a worker. They're always going to hate unions. They're always going to hate, not that I'm a big fan of unions, by the way. I'm not a big fan of unions because unions commit the same damn sin that rich people commit, which is they get very rich with all the fees they charge members of the union, and then they become luxurious just like rich people. So I'm not a fan of unions, but I am a fan of getting more money for people that are middle class and poor so they can survive. And I hope all these idiots that think that you're going to lose money, that you're going to lose jobs, and America's going to be worse off if it doesn't protect workers in these areas. We're talking about survival, living, medical. We're talking about parental leave so you can take care of your kids. We're talking about a wage you can live off of. All those people think it's terrible for small businesses. I hope you go broke. I hope you are unemployed, bankrupt, and nobody will give you a job, and I hope it lasts for at least a year. I hope every single one of you people suffer the way we suffer, and I hope you idiots finally, after a year of unemployment and no hope and nothing going right for you, when all of that happens to you, I hope then you'll understand what really happens to the rest of us. And I hope you don't have enough money saved. I hope you aren't able to take care of yourself, because I want you to suffer the way we suffer. So you shut your big traps every time we're just trying to survive from medical care and survive from job income. That's all we're trying to do. So again, I wish them horrible things. Let me tell you what's worse than losing your job, though. If you know you're going to get fired. And this happens in companies. It's the worst thing ever. In companies, people know often they're on their last legs. Not because they did anything wrong. Maybe a new group has come in, they've bought the company, they're going to get rid of you. Maybe somebody that's already there wants to, make a move that makes he or she more powerful, so they want to get rid of you because they're threatened by you, even though you're absolutely not a threat to them. Just they feel you're threatened, so you're about to be gotten rid of. Or maybe they just don't like the fact that you make the money you make after 10 years and they want to get some cheaper version in there with less experience, and they don't care what it does to you. All right. So to me, there should be a law against that. Because if you get married for 10 years, there's a law that protects the wife. So why isn't there a law that protects the worker if he's been there for 10 years? What happens is it's a continuous form of slow torture. The executive has told people about this. Some people, those people have told people. And people in the company, and maybe probably outside the company, know you're not being kept and you did nothing wrong. You know you're losing your job. The executive knows it. The company knows it through gossip. And you still have to work hard and do your job. Why? Because after you get laid off, you need to find another job. So you're working harder than you've ever worked, and you're about to lose your job. And the whole thing is one giant, continuous, slow death torture every day. Worse than Iraq, trust me. And you see your coworkers daily and the executives who are getting rid of you daily, and you're working your ass off, and they're smirking at you because they know they're getting rid of you, and you know they're getting rid of you. It's an insult every day. It's humiliation. It's miserable. It's suffering, and everyone they kind of get off on the fact that you're suffering. It's the intentional infliction of emotional distress. And by the way, even if it's not intentional, allegedly, then it's just infliction of emotional distress. It's cruel. So to me, there should be a law against this. They should suffer as much if they do this to you as they make you suffer. I just want fairness. Make the people that can get rid of you when you've worked your ass off and are willing to do whatever it takes to do the job, make those people suffer if they get rid of you like you suffer if you get rid of your wife after she's done a great job. You suffer. Make it cheaper to keep you. And we need to vote for people that'll do this. Now, let's start with Republicans. I don't like Democrats either, by the way, but let's start with Republicans. Stop all the BS about less rights for workers, please. All right? Don't call it a right-to-work state, because it's not a right-to-work state. It's killing us. It's designed to get rid of unions. And we don't need you to get rid of unions. We need you to create jobs so we can work. I don't care about whether there's a union or not. I just want a job. That's a right to work, getting a job. And unemployment is something that you're not dealing with, Republicans. You like rich people. Look at the Republican Party. Go to the Republican convention, people. You're going to see lots of rich people there, okay? Big corporations. Just get us jobs. And this is to Democrats, too, because you're so ineffective. You may say that you want to get us jobs. You may say that you're out to protect the middle class and the poor. You're not doing it. Get us jobs for families, for ourselves. I don't care if it's union or non-union. I don't care what it is. We'll work hard for you. We always have. Let's talk about Hillary Clinton and her health. She's got walking pneumonia, okay? It's no big deal. I've had walking pneumonia. It doesn't kill you unless you don't rest, okay? It's not an issue, dumbos, unless, of course, you're Donald Trump and you make it an issue. Look, Donald's not in perfect health. Who's in perfect health anyway? Is anyone in perfect health? Even when you're born, you're not in perfect health. The whole thing's a joke. Donald's 70. He eats fast foods. By the way, I like fast foods, but I don't eat them. But I understand. I love fast foods. We don't have a real analysis of his medical condition. We don't. I don't care what anyone says. We have far less information about Donald. Here's my whole thing. We have all this information about Hillary. Nobody trusts her. We have very little information about Donald. People trust him more than Hillary. How is that even possible? How is it possible, Americans, that you could trust a guy you have almost no information about, and you don't trust a woman who, through her own lunacy and idiot savant behavior, ended up giving you all the information you need about her? To me, it's crazy. They're both, I'm not saying either is trustworthy, but at least you know what you're getting with Hillary. You know what cards you're being dealt. You don't know with Donald. So we don't really know about him medically. But here's what we know. We know that he has high cholesterol. We know some generalities. He has high cholesterol and he takes statins. Heart attack. Could die any minute. Who knows? He'll be the oldest president we've ever elected. Do you want to not vote for him because he's too old and eats junk food and has high cholesterol? No. I don't hear anyone saying, I don't want to vote for Donald Trump because he eats junk food and has high cholesterol and he'll be 70, maybe 71. I don't care. I just want a good president. So stop this crap about Hillary having walking pneumonia and you won't vote for her because you're worried about her health. That is absolute lunacy. It's stupid, okay? She's not dying of cancer. We know she's not dying of cancer. She coughs. She sneezes. She's got pneumonia. It's walking pneumonia. I had it. I went to work every day when I had walking pneumonia. And by the way, it's not necessarily contagious either. So they both suck. I agree. But let's keep health out of this, please, because it's stupid. Now I want to talk to you about something a Democrat said he's going to do that drives me up the wall. Because, as you know, I don't like Democrats and I don't like Republicans. There's this request that's going to pass probably in Congress, one of the few times they're going to pass something I like, that 9/11 victims be allowed to sue Saudi Arabia. And you know who's going to veto that bill? According to all the press releases we've heard, Barack Obama. This is what I mean about Democrats claiming they want to protect us, but not doing crap to protect us. Obama allegedly is vetoing a bill that would allow victims of 9/11 to sue Saudi Arabia. Tell me why. Their citizens bombed us. Are you an idiot? Are you an idiot, savant, Obama? They killed us and destroyed a good portion. These Saudi Arabians killed and destroyed a good portion of the largest city in America, New York City. What's wrong with you? What is wrong with you? Don't you think we should at least get the victims something? Who are they going to sue? They're not going to sue the building. It's not the building's fault. The owners of the building had nothing to do with it. New York City had nothing to do with it. Rudy Giuliani had nothing to do with it. No citizens in New York had anything to do with these bombings. Saudi Arabia, its citizens bombed us, period. And they conspired against us. And they were led by a Saudi named Osama bin Laden. So please, don't give me this isn't related to Saudi Arabia. Again, Obama's a smart guy. He, like every other politician that's paid, he sucks the toes of rich Saudi Arabians who have, guess what? The thing I was complaining about earlier, oil. Okay? They're killing us, Obama. We don't need their oil. We have oil reserves. We can have our own oil. We can find oil from Russia. We can find oil even from Venezuela, even though you don't like them very much. We can find oil all over the earth. There's oil everywhere. We don't need Saudi Arabia for oil, all right? It's utterly disgusting. And that's why I'm not a Democrat. This sort of nonsense. Obama, I ask you this. You're taking in lots of refugees, okay? But for the people who are already American citizens and suffered or had family die because of 9/11, you're vetoing a bill to allow them to sue Saudi Arabia? I mean, have you lost your mind? They can kill and injure us. People can kill and injure American citizens without being sued, but will bring in refugees and protect them? Seriously? Are you ridiculous? All right, well, let's talk about this because it's on conservative radio all the time. Every conservative radio talk show, all of them to me are like drones. They're like lemmings. They just walk to the sea of conservative suicide because they don't use their brains. None of these people use their brains. The moment you hear about somebody who's just one-sided and only criticizes Democrats, you know this is a person with half a brain. There was this TV show called Brain Dead where these alien ants took over half the brains of politicians. I love this show, by the way. It's probably off the air, but I love this show. And it was great because that's how I feel sometimes, quite often, about these conservative radio talk show hosts. They have like half a brain, and some alien has taken over the other half, and they talk like they're like stupid zombies, not smart zombies. So who's really elite? All they do is talk about the elite, right? Elite, elite, elite. All right. Let me tell you who's really, I've talked to you about this. It's not, if people don't have money and power, okay, it's simple. It's like 1 + 1 = 2, right, folks? People don't have money and power, they're not elite. I don't care what school they went to. I don't care how smart they are. I don't care how famous they are. If they don't have money and power, they're not elite, okay? And most of the time, people that get money and power, they become Republican. Not all the time, but most of the time. Charles Barkley, famous basketball player, right? Starts out poor, from Alabama, poor kid, goes to Auburn University, the only time Auburn is good in basketball, gets to the NBA, becomes rich, becomes elite, becomes a Republican. He's now known as Sir Charles. You've seen the commercials. The Koch brothers, rich Republicans. The Bushes got rich in oil, Republican. Rush Limbaugh courted rich people, was a lawyer, courted rich people, got rich on radio, Republican. Ronald Reagan started out Democrat, all right, got rich, became Republican. Rick Perry started out Democrat, got rich, became Republican. Now, it's true Hillary started out Republican and went Democrat and got rich when she went Democrat. I told you she's an idiot's MO. She does everything backwards. But that's the exception to the rule. This weekend, when Hillary's sick, here's another idiot savant thing. And she knows she has walking pneumonia. So what does this idiot savant do? Well, let me tell you what the idiot part does. She goes around and stands for hours when she's sick, has to leave because she's sick, denies her illness, then later admits it, then has to defend herself from hiding it, and now has to explain what happened over and over again. If that's not backwards, I don't know what is. If you're sick, stay home. Don't stand around for 4 hours, then get sick, almost faint, and then have to lie about it. Who is advising this woman, Bozo the Clown? Anyway, if there is a Hollywood elite, which everyone claims there is, they must be idiots because Reagan got elected twice. Bush followed him. Another Bush followed Clinton. That's a lot of Republicans. How did the Hollywood elite lose the presidency? Oh, wait, Nixon was also elected. What happened there? Why are most governors Republican? How did the Hollywood elite allow that? Why are Republicans in control of Congress? How did the Hollywood elite allow that? Why is Trump caught up to Clinton in this election? How did the Hollywood elite allow that? They didn't. They're idiots. They don't have control. They don't have power. They have money, but they don't have power. Roger Ailes, he had power. He turned a small network into a billion-dollar network. Okay, that was conservative. That's a powerful guy, and he is Republican. So please, it's rich people with power. Those are the people that are controlling America, and I'm so friggin' tired of these conservative radio talk show hosts talking about the liberal elite. There is no liberal elite. There's power and money. That's elite. And if they're aligned with them, they're not with you and me. My show's winding down. How many more minutes do I have, Coach? I got 2 more minutes. So in my 2 more minutes, I'm going to pick one of the topics I wanted to talk about, and that'll be my final 2 minutes. I said this earlier. I'll say it again. I've said it on many shows. The Wells Fargo fraudulent bank account thing. What's up with the staff having fraudulent accounts? Who's in charge of Wells Fargo? How did this happen? This is what I mean about banks. In my opinion, they steal through fees, overdraft charges, low interest on savings, and now this. Wells Fargo, whether negligently or not, we don't know, let their own staff have fraudulent bank accounts. And you think we need less bank regulations? Well, if you're poor, middle class, and your money is in the bank, which is 99% of us, we need it protected by the bank. And that bank has to be required to protect our accounts. They got to give us better interest rates. We have a minimum wage. Why not a legal minimum interest rate? So if you save your money and you're honest and a good, hardworking American, those higher interest rates can be meaningful to you. Senior citizens will love it. Don't you care about your grandparents, bankers? Wake up! Wake up about banks. They took billions from the government. They live in the top 1% with fancy cars and homes, dishes, food. They don't pay taxes, pay lower tax rates than us. Supposedly that helps business. Really? Has it helped you? Why is the gap between rich and poor and rich and middle class larger than ever? It hasn't helped any of us. We have to regulate the banks so we have a shot with them because we're just poor middle class people and we don't have any control. They have money and power, both. We need to make them do things so we have better interest rates and they can't have fraudulent accounts like Wells Fargo Bank. It's been a wonderful show. Thank you for calling in. I love you all. I'll see you next week. I'll continue fighting every day of my life for you. Thank you so much.
Shows that make you laugh. Shows that make you think. Music that moves you. It could only be one place. Universal Broadcasting Network. Tune in at ubnradio.com.